что? Я снова воскресла исключительно в последний момент выходного и исключительно к ночи. Поэтому даешь вечерние детективы перед рабочей неделей. Ну, у кого она рабочая? У меня рабочая, например. Так, себе все подрубила. Ну, начинаем в таком случае. Так, Кассандра скорбит о майоре. Да, у нас тут убили майора в прошлый раз, с которым подрался жених. Сейчас, видимо, надо всех допросить.
Is that the end of your interrogations?
There are still some questions that remain to be asked.
Угу. Рад найти эти напитки на любой вкус. Возможно, я смогу выпить что-нибудь позже. Я просто не помню, что от меня требуется. Ага, Пуаро бы хотел поиграть, но боится ошибиться.
I'm afraid our conversation is of a morph.
So the Major was murdered?
It appears so.
You can't think that I did it, though.
I will be questioning everyone over the course of the evening, and your cooperation will certainly speed up that process.
Кроме разговора со мной, расскажите мне обо всех ваших перемещениях до обеда.
I was here in the salon, minding my own business, enjoying my own company.
Minding your business from whom?
Comtesse, what's her name, and my brother. Apart from wanting to congratulate him for a great right hook, there was nothing I had to say to him.
Comtesse de Vos? And they will both confirm you were here?
If she had taken a moment to notice anything besides herself, she will tell you I was here the whole time.
I think that is all for now. Bonsoir, Monsieur Beckers. Merci for speaking with me.
Monsieur Poirot, or should it be Detective Poirot now?
Detective Poirot is perfect, merci. I would like to begin with a few questions.
Go right ahead, Detective Poirot.
Вы можете сказать, где находились до обеда?
I took great pleasure in seeing the Major's ego as well as his face take a bruising. And then I made my way to the library.
Where you spoke with Mademoiselle Conrad.
And yourself? Yes.
We were the only two that you spoke with.
Мадемуазель Конрад. О боже, это газетчица, ага.
One of the servants bought me a drink and I was telling her about the benefits of joining a union. She didn't understand what it truly meant to be a part of something. Something bigger than just her. I was trying to explain to her how...
Monsieur.
Oh, yes, it was just the two of you and the servant.
Странно, кажется, он не помнит, что в библиотеке был еще месье де Силва.
And you are sure there was no one else present?
I'm not sure what you're getting at, Detective. You were there.
Merci, Monsieur Beckers. It has been a most enlightening conversation. Monsieur de Silva, merci for obliging me.
A detective comes to a party and a dead body shows up. Coincidental, don't you think?
A man's death is not a matter to joke on, monsieur.
Who said anything about a joke? I am saying what I see.
Then perhaps you can tell me what it was you saw this evening.
Где вы находились перед обедом?
Following whatever that was in the hall, I moved to the library.
Is there anyone that can confirm that?
Miss Conrad and Beckers were in there, arguing about something. The books held my interest far more than their conversation.
You did not speak with them until dinner was served?
I had no reason to get involved with their little spat. It was clear they didn't want me to hear, and that suited me just fine.
Merci for your cooperation. Monsieur Demir, I am sorry your celebrations have taken a rather dark turn.
As am I, Detective. I hope we will be able to bring this investigation to an end post-haste.
With your cooperation, I will do my very best.
Прежде чем нас позвали в столовую, где кроме холла вы были?
I was here in the salon. I thought I would have a moment of peace to calm myself, but the Comtesse and my brother followed behind.
Did they inquire into the reasons behind the fight in the hall?
I think they both saw it as some light entertainment, more than anything else.
The Comtesse does not strike me as one to enjoy violence.
And not so much violence, but karma for the Major, perhaps. You did not hear how he spoke to my wife-to-be. She is still rather upset about the whole thing.
If you would be so kind as to stay here, I may require your help further.
Я так увлеклась, что совсем забыла, что нам надо какие-то логические связи выстраивать между их рассказами. Так, спор между Хьюго и Джеки, слышал Эрнесто, и был в библиотеке. Хьюго говорил с Пуаро и Джеки и был в библиотеке. Захария выказал презрение к Марго, был в салоне и видел Гидеона и Марго. Гидеон видел Марго и Захарию, был в салоне. Анжелина все еще расстроена из-за ссоры с майором, кажется.
The pieces of the puzzle are finally
Гидеон и Захария подтверждают, что оба были в салоне.
Comtesse, I am sorry our next conversation must be under such formal circumstances.
It is not the first time Felix has ruined a good party.
The current state of tonight's celebrations is the least of my priorities, Comtesse.
Well, it's at the top of mine, Detective. I did not come here for a wake.
Perhaps then we should proceed with my questions and you can get back to celebrating.
It would be my pleasure, chérie.
Мы уже разговаривали ранее. Вы оставались в салоне до самого приглашения на обед?
I did. I thought by staying in one place, it would be easy for the staff to bring me my drinks. How wrong I was.
And who else was present in here?
Еще кто-нибудь?
The handsome groom-to-be and his brother, although Zachariah, is it, made a rather sharp exit at one stage.
Did he say where he was going?
He barely said 2 words to either of us. I think he was more concerned with his drink.
Еще упоминание о пьянстве месье де Мира. И никого это не заботит.
Merci, Comtesse. If I have any further questions, I shall be sure to come and find you. Mademoiselle Conrad, I am sure you understand the delicate nature of the situation.
I knew I had seen your face before. You were just an officer when that story hit the paper.
You have a très bon memory, mademoiselle. That was a long time ago.
You can't escape the past, especially when you go and do something like that.
That is very true, but one can learn from it and create a better future.
What would you say to an
Please, mademoiselle. Catching the Major's killer is my sole concern right now. Now, if you would be so kind, I have some questions for you.
Расскажите мне про этот вечер, начиная с прибытия.
I arrived, unpacked my bags in my room, and made it downstairs just in time to see the Major take a right hook from Gideon. And then I went to check out the library.
And you were joined by Monsieur Beckers.
And Ernesto, or Monsieur de Silver, as you say. But after he ignored my attempt at pleasantries, I left him to his book in the corner.
And your conversation with Monsieur Beckers that I interrupted.
You are a persistent one, aren't you? Makes sense now I know who you really are. You'll just have to wait and read about it in the paper like everyone else.
Привет, Рафрафович. Это получается... Я сейчас залипла, потому что как бы сюжетно это, второе дело. То есть первое было с кражей браслета и служанкой, а второе с шантажом. Но получается, что после дело с шантажом вылилось в дело об убийстве. Короче, это, по сути, третье дело. Мадемуазель Конрад все еще держит рот на замке, не желая говорить о беседе с мсье Беккерсом. Но намек прочесть обо всем в газете заставляет меня поверить в то, что дело гораздо серьезнее, нежели я предполагал.
You have been most helpful. I request you do not go too far. Merci.
Захария в какой-то момент отсутствовал, Марго была в салоне, и Гидеон тоже был там. Джеки разговаривала с Хьюго, видела Эрнеста и была в библиотеке. Ой.
I must take a different approach if I am to What a revelation!
Эрнест и Джеки подтверждают, что оба были в библиотеке.
Things are beginning to be...
Джеки и Хьюго подтверждают, что оба были в библиотеке.
Some would say a lucky guess.
Марго и Гидеон подтверждают, что оба были в салоне.
Come, my little grey cells. Order and method. That is the way to solve the problem.
Русская озвучки с бельгийским акцентом. Интересно, как бы это выглядело. В смысле, звучало. Захария подтверждает.
I must act
Нет.
on thought and...
Нет, не подтверждает. Вот так.
Magnifique.
Марго утверждает, что Захария выходил из комнаты, но Гидеон об этом не упоминал. Следует ли принимать во внимание то время, что он отсутствовал? Так, поговорить с Захарией. Что еще? Что-то я не догоняю. Захарию не интересует разговор с Марго и братом.
This will not get me any... I cannot see the logic in this. Is there something... I should not be surprised by my own skills of...
Хьюго не упомянул, что видел Эрнеста в библиотеке. Не понял. Ага, поговорить с Захарией и поговорить с Хьюго. Не быть мне детективом, короче.
I'm an open book, Poirot.
Ваша версия событий?
I told you already. I was here in the salon.
And you did not leave even once.
Well, I had to use the bathroom. I didn't realize I had to update you every time nature called.
You may keep your calls of nature to yourself, merci. And then you returned to the salon?
Третий Baldur's Gate нет, но подозрительно посматриваю в его сторону, потому что что-то многовато его повсюду. И вроде как говорят, игра хорошая. Для себя я сейчас играю в Disco Elysium.
If you don't believe me, ask Archibald. He saw me on his way up to the study.
I think that is all for now. Can you confirm seeing Monsieur Demire in the hall this evening?
Zachariah, yes. I was on my way with a bottle of whiskey to the Major. He shouted a rather ignorable greeting to me and asked for directions to the bathroom.
I presume you showed him the way?
Aye, detective. I showed him to the hall bathroom. I didn't think it was wise to attempt the stairs, not in that state.
Самое громадное РПГ. Звучит заманчиво и страшно одновременно.
Whatever you require, detective.
Что вы расскажете о сегодняшних событиях?
I know you are probably used to dealing with criminals, but not everyone is trying to hide something.
И как оно Last of Us? Мучительно? Нет?
I hope for your sake that you do not hide anything from me.
What is it you think I'm hiding?
I struggle to believe you did not know of Monsieur da Silva's presence in the library.
Is that what this is about? I saw him hiding in the corner, pretending to read. I'd be surprised if he even could. I did not speak to him, and he certainly didn't make any attempt to speak with me.
Monsieur Demire invited you here to speak with him. You didn't see that as a fitting time too?
I was speaking with Jacqueline, and quite frankly, I was in no mood to be dealing with that man.
Что ж ты делаешь на его свадьбе тогда? Если ты не в настроении иметь дело с ним. Месье Беккерс отважен и полон решимости воплотить свои планы в жизнь, но его оправдания не отражают подобной уверенности. А, ты ПК-версию? В ПК-версию играешь, да?
Merci, Monsieur Beckers. It has been a most enlightening conversation.
Или на PS5. Так. Да, Арчибальд подтвердил.
Order and
действия
method.
Захария.
That is...
А что тебе не нравится тут? Подтвердил же. Хьюго мельком видел Эрнесту.
Another success. I never...
Хьюго и Эрнеста подтверждают, что оба были в библиотеке.
I should not be surprised by my own...
Хьюго, Эрнеста и Джеки подтверждают версии событий друг друга. Преступник кто-то другой, так получается? Я жду дополнения к Киберпанку. Не уверена, что оно у меня на компе пойдет. Хотя, по идее, системные требования подходят. Надеюсь, что это будет играбельно. Так, эти подтверждают алиби.
Things are beginning to become clearer.
Арчибальд подтвердил, что Захария ненадолго выходил из салона.
Magnifique.
Гидеон, Захария и Марго были в салоне, по крайней мере, некоторое время вместе. Несомненно, винить следует кого-то еще. Пусть и с незначительными расхождениями, все гости подтверждают алиби друг друга. Не такого результата я ждал или надеялся получить. То есть убийца кто-то из своих. Так что ли? Это не привело к желаемому результату. Возможно, если подойти непосредственно к рассмотрению мотивов, я смогу узнать больше.
Whatever you require, detective.
От меня как-то ускользнуло, почему мы выкидываем из числа подозреваемых других. Ну, там Анджелину с графиней, или кто она там, с мамкой, короче, и служанок, и слуг. Ну, как бы, если уж подозревать, то всех, наверное. Вы знакомы с этим семейством через месье де Мира, правильно?
Yes, Gideon invited me. If you will recall from our previous conversation, we have been working together and he thought now would be a good time to discuss matters.
To discuss business at the celebration of his engagement?
We're all here, so what better time? He thought Da Silva might even let his guard down, if you was in a more jubilant mood. It would be wise to not continue to ignore us any longer.
Я себе как обновила комп, так и приставки немножко перестали интересовать. Хотя PS4 нормально все еще заходит. И в нее играю в комп.
And what business was it that was so urgent?
We're trying to resolve the worker strikes. It has gone on long enough. Now is the time for him to listen to our demands so we can put an end to it all. Put the violence and upset behind us.
Итак, планируются переговоры с месье да Силва.
I am fighting for the basic rights of our workers, nothing more. If he can't see that, he is a lesser man than I already thought.
Через пару лет поиграю, ничего. И в дополнение поиграю. Вообще не проблема.
And where does Monsieur Gédéon fit into the negotiations? And his brother?
His brother? I didn't even know he had a brother until I arrived here. Gideon certainly hasn't talked much about him. I get the sense there's not much love lost between them.
Откуда вы знаете жертв?
I know that I don't think, or didn't think, a great deal of him. I'm just sorry I didn't get the chance to tell him what I thought.
The man has recently been murdered.
Someone must stand up to men like him, with their crooked dealings and lack of, well, any compassion at all.
Another rousing speech, monsieur.
It's the truth. If you knew what I know, maybe he wouldn't be dead, but behind bars instead.
Ну вот да, с системными требованиями вопрос. Там, мне кажется, самолет нужен будет, чтобы это запустить через пару лет. Кажется, вы испытываете в некоторой степени, скажем так, гнев в отношении майора.
Anger, yes, but that's all. I wouldn't kill a man.
You must see why this leads me to have suspicions.
You can't honestly think I did it. I am a man of peace. I make changes with words, not with violence.
Я только упомянул майора, как месье тут же стал взволнован и ершист. Когда вы в последний раз видели майора? В последний раз я видел его снаружи, он курил сигару. А где звук? Увы, я сам с ним разговаривал, но это было некоторое время назад. А чё стырили звук-то? Он любит сигары, любой полюбит сложившихся обстоятельств. Я с трудом мог разглядеть его сквозь снег.
Merci, monsieur Beckers. It has been a most enlightening conversation.
Сперли озвучку. Двух фраз. Бывает. Что-то тут эти стачки и права рабочих. Диско Элизиум стачки и права рабочих. Ох уж эти вечные мотивы. Так, поговорить с Захарией. Ага, пойдем.
I'm an open book, Poirot.
Вы говорили с майором этим вечером?
Why would I? I've got nothing to say to him, except maybe to keep his hands off what is ours.
What is yours that he could want?
Money, of course. Why do you think he has been
Money.
suckling at the Phantom Bosch teat for so long?
Джексон
He's
пошел.
bled them dry, and now they will all do the same to our money.
Our?
My father's, Gideon's, it's all the same.
У меня сложилось ощущение, что вы с месье Гидеоном не самые близкие люди.
When you have not been on level playing fields for years, it's hard to have a fair game.
I am afraid I do not quite understand.
If we're playing golf, he has a full set of clubs and a caddy in the form of my father, and I have the old split putter. Make sense now?
Perfectly.
Он, несомненно, настроен к брату несколько враждебно, и это намного глубже, чем простое соперничество между братьями. Ваши отношения с братом, кажется, у каждого есть мнение.
That doesn't surprise me, and yet no one actually asks.
I am asking now.
I should have expected that, shouldn't I? What is there to say? We used to be close, but not so much anymore.
I would find it very helpful if you could at least elaborate on your relationship.
He went to school, got an education, and was the apple of our father's eye. I went to war. See the difference now?
Месье опять упомянул о войне, и хотя я не хотел преуменьшить то, что он сделал для своей страны, кажется, он так и не смог оставить войну на поле боя.
I think that is all for now. Merci for your time.
Захария обижен на Гедеона, и все.
More questions? I suppose so.
Можете рассказать мне подробнее о ваших взаимоотношениях с покойным?
Felix, I didn't know him that well. We spoke a handful of times. I met him through Cassandra. I thought him to be rather pompous.
But you remained polite, as any gentleman would.
Of course.
Плохое мнение о майоре преобладает. Я еще встречу кого-нибудь, кто будет думать о нем хорошо. Не могли бы вы рассказать мне подробнее о ваших взаимоотношениях с мадам Ванденбош?
What is there to say? She's a remarkable woman, and I admire her. Even after Edwin's death, she held herself with such poise.
It sounds as though you hold her in the highest regard.
And why shouldn't I? Women these days could take a leaf out of her book on how to present themselves.
Вы сказали, что говорили с майором несколько раз. О чем именно?
He had approached me about doing some business together. I like to know who I'm getting into bed with first.
And you both went ahead with your business venture.
Not so much a business venture, more security related. But there is no need to discuss that any further.
Is there something you wish to remain hidden about your partnership, monsieur?
It was far from a partnership. I hired him to run security at my factories. If the workers were going to get violent, I wanted to make sure I was ready to protect my property.
И вы, и майор долгие годы очень помогали мадам Ванденбош.
That is correct.
And the reason for your support was always of a purely platonic nature.
If you're trying to insinuate that I was expecting something in return, you can remove your head from the gutter.
I meant no offense. I'm only trying to understand the dynamic of your relationship.
Нужно подойти к этому вопросу иначе. Возможно, следует поговорить об этом с графиней.
Merci for your cooperation.
Кассандре нравится Эрнеста, поговорить с Марго. Эрнест отрицает любовь к Кассандре, поговорить с Джеки. У Эрнеста есть деловые связи. Майор причастен к рабочим стачкам. Так, поговорить с Марго, поговорить с Джеки. Марго.
I am all yours, detective.
Вы когда-нибудь разговаривали с майором о том, как он относится к мадам Ванденбош?
Why would I actively choose to speak to that wretched man?
You were quite adamant of your protection of Madame. If he was as awful as you portrayed him to be, there must have been some words spoken, or perhaps written?
He was quite aware of how I felt towards him, and the lengths he has gone to remain close to the family. That is all that needs to be said.
I must admit, I would not want to be on the receiving end of your tongue's wrath, Countess.
Wise thinking, detective.
Уверен, вы заметили отсутствие мадам Ванденбош.
I imagine she would have shed a tear for him, but she should not waste any more.
You don't think she would? Or you don't want her to?
I have made it quite clear what I think of that man, alive or dead. I would not want her to waste anything further on him.
Не знаю, у кого язык острее, у мадам Ванденбош или у графини. Несомненно, они обе претендуют на первое место. Что со взаимоотношениями мадам Ванденбош и месье де Силва?
What of it?
Do you believe there was something more to their friendship?
As I have said, detective, I am not one to gossip.
I would not even consider your name and that word in the same sentence.
Because it is not gossip when it's the truth.
У нее восхитительный акцент, по-моему. Прекрасно. Не уверен, что это абсолютно так, но графиня совершила дерзкую попытку оправдать свой язык без костей.
Why else do you think he would stay around for so long? Yes, he was a friend and partner to the Viscount, but it is plain to see it is Cassandra's partnership he longs for.
Вы объяснили, что майор старался быть ближе к семейству, но не объяснили, почему.
He was a disgusting leech that was driven only by money and power, like most men.
I can assure you not all men are concerned with such egotistical wealth.
That may be, but they are few and far between. I believe you are a special case, Detective Poirot.
It is not the first time I have been described in such a way.
Embrace the compliment, Detective. You have set yourself apart from the horrid crétins that seem to somehow make their way into positions of authority and power.
And that is what the Major was doing? Using Madame Vandenbosch as his ladder to the top?
You are finally seeing the man he was. A weak and self-indulgent social climber.
Social climber. Оу. Графиня, несомненно, открыла мне глаза на истинные устремления майора в отношении семьи Ванденбош. Интересно, а сама мадам осведомлена о его жадности и жажде общественного признания?
Merci, Countess. If I have any further questions, I shall be sure to come and find you.
You came to the right place. What do you need?
Что вы знаете о жертве?
I know that he was not the good and honest man he liked to think he was.
In what sense?
If you spoke to him for longer than 5 minutes, you'd know. I've met people in dark alleys I trust before him.
And on the occasions when you did speak with him, what was discussed?
I'm sorry, Poirot. If you're looking for a deep-seated secret between me and him, you're going to be disappointed.
Мадемуазель Конрад хорошо понимает суть вопроса. Она точно знает, что говорить, а что нет. Этот орешек расколоть сложнее, нежели я ожидал. Кажется, вы знаете все обо всех. Что вы можете сказать о месье де Силва, майоре и мадам Ванденбош?
If you think you can use me as some sort of gossip machine, you are sorely mistaken.
I can assure you it is not a case of gossiping. At this point, everything may be relevant to my investigation.
So I would be helping you potentially solve a crime? You should have said that off the bat. To say he's smitten is an understatement. I reckon he's been wanting her for years.
I see. Madame does not feel the same?
Doesn't look like it. If she did, she would have said something about it, right?
Поскольку вы говорили с месье Беккерсом, полагаю, с ним вы тоже знакомы.
That man has got some real anger issues. I get why he's frustrated. He's trying his best for the workers, but holding on to rage like that, something's gonna burst.
Человек, сдерживающий гнев и мертвое тело. Даже детектив-любитель увидит связь. А что вы думаете о графине? Я буду признателен, если вы поделитесь своим мнением о ней.
I don't know if you really would. She's got a mouth the size of Texas, except when it comes to truths about her.
Рот размером с Техас.
She wants everyone to think that she's the savior of these
Ужас
girls at
какой.
the shelter. But there's a side to her I don't think anyone gets to see.
And what side is that?
One that she is keeping tucked away under her very expensive dress.
Я вижу в работе в женском приюте только хорошую сторону. Даже если причина тому была эгоистичной, такой труд нельзя поднимать наспех.
You have been most helpful. I request you do not go too far. Merci.
Кьюго злился на майора. Эрнеста и Кассандра дружат, Джек не доверяет майору. Марго утаивает информацию. Поговорить с Марго.
The pieces of the puzzle are finally
Хьюго утверждает, что успокоился после спора с майором, но Джеки оспаривает это.
Some would say a lucky guess.
Возможно, Эрнеста тщательно скрывает свою тайную любовь, но мы можем использовать это с пользой. Использовать с пользой. Марго и Эрнест.
I am all yours, детектив.
Графиня, вы дали мне понять, что майор и мадам были близки, но порой он вел себя по отношению к ней весьма агрессивно.
Countess, you gave me the impression the Major and the Madame were close, but there were times where he acted rather aggressively to her, n'est-ce pas?
I am sorry, детектив, but I did not mean to give you such an impression.
Я уже выстроил с графиней хорошие отношения, если можно так сказать, флиртуя с ней. Возможно, если я продолжу кокетничать с ней, она сообщит больше требуемой информации. Не нужно извинений, очевидно, я ошибаюсь. Уверен, столь утонченная дама, как вы, не станет намеренно вводить молодого человека в подобные заблуждения.
Ever the charmer, детектив. I would talk more on it, but I'm afraid Cassandra would think I am talking about her behind her back.
Графине есть что сказать, но она не говорит. Что-то подсказывает мне, что это связано с нуждой во внимании. Возможно, я смогу использовать это себе... Не знаю, возможно, мне это на руку будет. Попыталась на ходу отредактировать, не очень получилось. Чё, даже не знаю, давайте вот так, например. Очевидно, вы очень заботитесь о мадам Ванденбош. Ваша помощь в расследовании поможет очистить ее имя от любых прегрешений. Вы же этого хотите?
It is not often I am swayed so easily. I applaud you on your willingness and persistence. From day one, I was wary of his intentions. And it was not long before he showed his true colors. If it is a tear she sheds, it should be one of joy that he is out of her life.
I understand your feelings towards the Major, but perhaps there was...
He was a bully. He took his shortcomings out on her, and she sat there and accepted it. I never thought I would see the day. Perhaps now she will be able to see the man he truly was. Karma will always catch up to you.
Merci, Countess. If I
Жестокость майора подтверждена. Так, теперь... Кто там был, я забыла. Ой, не то. Эрнесто. Эрнесто, ты?
More questions? I suppose so.
Мои извинения за настойчивость в вопросах, но вы и мадам Ванденбош...
Mademoiselle Conrad was quick to talk of your hidden feelings towards her. Perhaps only hidden to Madame Vandenbosch herself.
What has this got to do with the Major's death? Does Cassandra know you have spoken to others about this? I have only tried to help her.
Я ни в чем вас не обвиняю, я только желаю знать правду. А если вы и дальше будете избегать ответа, я могу подумать, что вы в самом деле что-то скрываете.
There may be some feelings there, but Madame Vandenbosch does not know of them, and I trust that it will remain that way.
Merci for your cooperation.
Эрнесто беспокоится о Кассандре. Так, еще совсем не говорили с Гидеоном. По-моему.
No trouble at all. How can I help?
Две семьи соединяются, а майор много времени проводил с семейством Ванденбош. Полагаю, вы хорошо его знали?
I knew of him more than actually knowing him myself. In the past, he made his feelings towards my brother and I quite clear.
And that was not in a positive way.
I certainly wouldn't call trying to get Angeline to postpone the engagement positive.
Я говорил с вашим братом ранее. Он явно не скучал.
What do you mean?
I do not mean to pry, only I imagine the whole room was aware of his celebrating with a bottle.
You must be mistaken. Neither my brother nor I drink.
В смысле? Он же заливает только так. Не знаю, как он мог не заметить состояние своего брата. Возможно, люди не замечают того, во что не хотят верить. Каковы ваши отношения с братом?
We aren't the closest, but what brothers are?
I would argue that many are.
We've lived very different lives. Our priorities are different. He does not see things the way I do.
Очевидно, в этом вопросе еще долго разбираться. Вернусь к нему, когда будет необходимая информация. Я бы хотел спросить вас о профсоюзе.
I have lent my voice to some discussions. I have tried to facilitate meetings. Just positive support.
Does that positive support include sending letters to those on the opposing side?
Detective Poirot, I'm not sure what you think I have done.
Monsieur, a letter has been found threatening the Major of what might happen if he does not act promptly, and now he has wound up dead.
You think my sending him a letter, warning him not to get involved, means I murdered him?
At this time, it is certainly reason for me to be suspicious.
I have been funding the strikes, Detective. These men deserve fair treatment, and a wage that fits the hard work they undertake every single day. The Major didn't see that. All he cared about was the money for his services, and that is all I care to discuss.
Оказывается, письмо месье было написано с благородными намерениями, но он все равно не желает обсуждать, что связывает его с майором.
If you would be so kind as to stay here, I may require your help further.
Вроде со всеми поговорили в этой комнате.
I'm an open book, Poirot.
Что вы знаете о работе брата с профсоюзом?
If you want to know about Gideon's part in the union, why don't you ask him?
So, you are aware of his support for them?
Yes, well, he...
Oui, monsieur?
It'd be best to just ask him.
Месье или мало знает о том, что делает брат, или притворяется, чтобы его защитить.
I think that is all for now. Another success.
Захария утверждает, что не близок с братом, однако скрывает информацию о нем.
No trouble at all. How can I help?
Я хотел бы еще поговорить о вашем брате.
I believe there are more important matters at hand than talking about my brother and I's relationship or lack thereof.
The murderer is in his house, and by holding back information that may help my investigation, you only make me suspicious of your involvement. Monsieur Demire, if you continue to withhold information, I can only assume you are hiding something, and must treat you as a prime suspect in the Major's murder.
Вы разозлили деда.
I have nothing to hide. If you must know, we have not been on the best terms for years now. As I said, we are different people. He does not see the importance of planning for the future, and as much as my parents tried, we could not make him see that. I suppose that is why he sees me as their favorite.
He still believes that now?
I assume so. We barely talk anymore. I was hoping we would be able to sit down and talk and leave the past behind.
If you would be so kind as to stay here, I may require your help further.
Вот эта часть игры что-то совсем занудная пошла. Просто даже, не знаю, даже не по дому бегаешь, а бегаешь по одной комнате от одного героя к другому. Ну, ёлки. Разбавили бы чем. Хотя бы, чтобы картинки перед глазами менялись.
What a revelation!
Эрнесто утверждает, что они Чего? Блин, Ctrl-Alt-Delete. Немножко перепутали реплику. Видимо, это между братьями есть какой-то...
The pieces of the puzzle are finally coming together.
Наверное, что-то такое должно было быть здесь. По отдельности братья кажутся подозрительными, но я не могу представить их действующими вместе. О майоре у меня сложилось свое мнение. Лучше держать его при себе, но я не ожидал, что оно совпадает с мнением большинства. Я должен обдумать услышанное у себя в комнате. Оу, yes, нас выпустили отсюда. Да, братья не стремятся сотрудничать. Поговорить с Арчибальдом.
My time with the guests is complete, for tonight, at least.
Do you know who killed Major Hagen?
I am afraid it is not as simple as that. There are many steps that lead to the truth. I must think on everything I have heard this evening and dissect the truths from the lies. Merci for your assistance this evening. Au revoir.
Я прибыл сюда, чтобы расследовать дело о шантаже и избавить семью от бремени, которое тяготело над ними и затмевало праздник. Но все пошло не так. Я никогда не бывал на праздновании помолвки, где на авансцену выходит смерть. Хотя гости подтверждают алиби друг друга, я все еще не могу исключить возможности того, что кто-то из них причастен к смерти майора. Взаимоотношения некоторых гостей с майором были более чем сложными. Его не любили многие, но достаточно ли для того, чтобы пойти на убийство? Сейчас будет прекрасная возможность обдумать все, что я услышал сегодня. Обдумать и найти самого вероятного преступника.
Some would say a lucky guess. I would say a moment of genius.
Сейчас будет как в этом, как в Восточном экспрессе, да? Когда все сговорились. И убийцы, по сути, все. Когда я впервые подслушала разговор Хьюга и Джеки, казалось, Хьюго пытался заставить Джеки слушать. Джеки требует компромат на майора. У Хьюга.
I must act on thought and fact. I cannot see the logic in this. Is there something? Another success.
Прошлое разногласие Гидеона с майором вкупе с угрозами благополучию кого-то из них определенно представляют собой намерение. Мотив Гидеона — возмездие?
This will not get me any... Come, my little grey cells. I must take a different approach if I... What a revelation!
Ослепленный любовью и завистью, Эрнесто мог убить соперника. Ну, не знаю такое.
I should not be surprised by my own skip.
Алиби каждого гостя подтверждает хотя бы один из гостей. Все алиби подтверждены.
I cannot see the logic in this. Things are beginning to be...
Письмо, отправленное Марго в попытке защитить Кассандру, было очень угрожающим, и Джеки, кажется, не знает ее секрет. Боже. Ужас какой. И Инфаркт. С вот такенным рубцом. Кому бы это быть в такое время?
Entrez.
Detective, I'm sorry I did not join you in the salon as requested.
Ты что, ногой в дверь стучала, что ли, мать? Или головой?
Please, mademoiselle. There is no need to apologize.
I was with Maman in her room. She would not allow anyone to see it, but I could see she was terribly upset.
Most understandable.
Do you have any suspicions as to who could have killed him?
I'm afraid my suspicions extended across all of the party's guests. While it seems as though their alibis all corroborate one another's, the disdain and hostility towards the Major makes them rife with motive.
I know there was some bad blood between the Major and some of the guests, but not enough to kill him, surely. She may seem tough from the exterior, but she's really quite kind when you get to know her.
The Countess? She is a formidable force I would not want to come up against.
Don't be silly, detective. She wouldn't hurt a soul. Jacqueline, I mean.
Мадемуазель Конрад? По сути, я подозревала ее менее всех до сего момента.
I assume that's who you were talking about, detective, after what happened between them.
That is a story I have yet to hear.
She must have told you about the piece she was writing on us, about Gideon's work and our marriage.
Somehow, that was the only thing she did not mention.
That's strange. I thought that is what she would have started the conversation with. Well, she had come to the house to interview me, and when I entered the library, she was there with Felix amid a rather heated conversation.
Do you know what this conversation regarded?
I'm afraid not, but Felix was quite enraged. He picked up an envelope from the table and stormed out, slamming the door behind him.
And Mademoiselle Conrad?
She was equally heated in the moment. She had a few choice words for him that I wouldn't care to repeat.
Если бы вы были на моем месте, мадемуазель, кого бы вы поставили первым в списке подозреваемых?
I'm sorry, but I just can't imagine any of them committing such a heinous crime.
It can often be hard to look past one's personal feelings for someone and see their flaws.
It's not that, detective. It's just they have known each other for years. Why would any of them act now?
I was under the impression the Major had merely a business relationship with some of the guests.
That's true, but those invited know each other, some of them for years. They may not seem like it, but some are even friends.
Как чувствует себя мадам?
Better, thank you, detective. She's resting in her room. It is the best place for her.
And you, mademoiselle?
I'm not quite sure. It is a rather surreal feeling. I did not think I would miss him like I do.
It is understandable. He has been a close friend to your maman for many years.
And to me, detective. We had grown close. After father's passing, he was always there for me. And now, he's gone as well.
You must try and not think on it like that.
It is easier said than done, detective.
I have no doubt, but you can be assured the culprit will not remain at large for long. You have my word.
I should return to my room now, detective. It has been a trying day for us all.
Oui, mademoiselle. I am afraid tomorrow may bear a resemblance, but I will not stop until I have found his killer.
I am certainly glad you are here, detective.
When and where a detective is required, that is where I shall be. Bonne nuit, mademoiselle.
Мадемуазель навела меня на интересную мысль, которую я не рассматривала до сего момента. Хотя с первого взгляда не кажется, что гости очень тепло относятся друг к другу, мадемуазель уверена, что это не так. Возможно, мне следует рассматривать гостей всех вместе, а не по отдельности. Вот как?
Come, my little grey cells. Magnifique.
Я сомневался в причастности Джеки к убийству, но сейчас сомневаюсь в ее невиновности.
What a revelation.
Теперь мне есть мотивы всех гостей. Кого же подозревать?
Things are beginning.
Я не знаю, кому можно доверять и чьим рассказам верить. Невиновны ли гости? Все гости под подозрением. Я же говорю, Восточный экспресс.
The pieces of the puzzle of...
Я теперь сомневаюсь в достоверности их рассказов. Они могут покрывать друг друга. Вот! Ни у кого из гостей не было физической возможности убить майора и вернуться на праздник. Если я только не ошибаюсь, мне нужно искать не одного виновного, но сразу несколько. Ага. Как я мог не подумать о том, что смерть майора была частью замысла, задуманного и исполненного несколькими гостями? После замечания мадемуазель Анжелины об общем прошлом гостей на меня будто снизошло озарение. Возможно, мадемуазель станет надежным союзником, поведав то, что необходимо для поимки виновных. Сегодняшние допросы были только началом. Я позволю подозреваемым переночевать со своими историями и посмотрим, как они поведут себя завтра. Возможно, у кого-нибудь из соучастников хватит совести, чтобы выказать хоть искру раскаяния. Принимая во внимание то, что они могут действовать сообща, я не могу быть уверен, кто сказал правду, а кто пытался увести меня от нее. Мне также стоит хорошенько отдохнуть, ведь утро вечера мудренее. И обстановка подходит для сна как нельзя лучше. Все укрыто умиротворяющим снежным одеялом. Хотя, кажется, не все так думают. Оу. Who's there? Глава 5. Тайна. Беспокойная ночь со зловещей фигурой на снегу лишь сбивают мои маленькие серые клеточки с толку. Не следовало ожидать, что дело окажется легким. По крайней мере, один из гостей мне солгал. Гости подтверждают алиби друг друга, но я знаю, что это неправда. Расследовать причастность майора к шантажу. Мне не совсем ясно, какое отношение майор имеет к шантажу. Как только я выясню, был ли он шантажистом или жертвой шантажа, я смогу продвинуться к расследованию. Хьюго хотел противостояния с майором, а Анжелина волнуется за него. Джеки писала статью об Анжелине и Гедеоне. Захария снова говорил о войне.
Good morning, Detective. You slept well?
I'm afraid I did not. I was hoping for at least a moment of pleasant slumber, but alas, it was not to be. Finding the Major's killer is the only thing that will put my mind at ease.
In that case, Detective, what can I do to help?
Прошлой ночью, наблюдая за падающим снегом, я заметил в саду силуэт человека.
In that snow? If someone was out there, we'd have another body on our hands.
I realize how strange it sounds, I would not believe it myself if I had not seen it with my own eyes.
Staff have reported seeing things in the dark before, but it always just turns out to be shadows. It was likely just your mind playing tricks.
Убийца дворецкий. Прошлым вечером я не видел мадемуазель Элизабет. Кстати, да.
I'm afraid our Lizzie is not well. I think the events of yesterday were too much for her. We'll have to just make do without her this morning.
As Wordsworth once stated, rest and be thankful. Perhaps a chance of peace and relaxation will work wonders.
Я бы хотел поговорить с мадам Ванненбош, как только ей будет удобно.
She is currently eating breakfast alone in the dining room. It's how she prefers it. But if you wish to speak with her now...
Мне важно поговорить с ней, но, возможно, лучше дать ей закончить трапезу. Я не хочу расстроить ее, прежде чем задам первый вопрос. Возможно, мне стоит поискать в саду следы виденной вечером фигуры. Вы не позволите мне воспользоваться домашним телефоном?
I would, but I'm afraid I found this morning that the telephone lines aren't working. The snow continued through the night and must have damaged them. Even if we could use the telephone, I don't think anyone would be able to reach us.
In that case, it will be up to myself alone to solve the case.
I'll let you know if anything changes. But until some of the snow clears, enough for the carriages to arrive, we are snowed in.
О, сейчас пойду 10 негритят. Будут по одному убирать всех причастных. И Пуаро в первую очередь. Хотя я не могу покинуть дом и рассчитывать на помощь местных властей, это означает, что и гости не смогут. До тех пор, пока снег не растает, мне придется найти не только шантажиста мадемуазель Анжелины, но и убийцу майора. Тело майора...
Taken care of. Master Demire and his brother, after sobering up, helped me move him into the cellar. Best place for the time being.
Très bien. I imagine there is no reason for anyone to go down there.
Besides me, no one. Once this snow clears, we will be able to move him from the house.
Your assistance has been most valuable as always.
Пошли во двор.
Good morning, Detective. I hope you were comfortable last night.
Bonjour, mademoiselle. The room was more than pleasant, merci. I'm afraid my mind was not in a state to enjoy it to its full potential, though.
I can't imagine any of us slept soundly last night.
Hopefully, guilt will be weighing heavily on someone's shoulders this morning.
Может, даже и не один.
I'm sorry if I was not much help last night, Detective.
On the contrary, your inside knowledge of the guests was of great help to my investigation. But there are many more questions that require answers.
Хотя смерть майора имеет приоритет, в деле о шантаже появились некоторые новые детали.
A development? Oh, Detective, I knew I could count on you.
It may not be the news you had wished for, though. Another letter has been found.
Addressed to me? I don't know how much more I can take of this.
Pardonnez-moi, mademoiselle. Although it has been written in the same manner, using similar phraseology, it was not sent for your eyes, rather the Major's. Or at least that is how it seems.
I'm sorry, Detective, I don't understand. It is addressed to him or not?
I found it in the Major's study yesterday while conducting my preliminary search. Whether he is the author of the letter or the recipient, I am still yet to discover.
Что вы думаете о положении майора в доме?
His position? You mean about him living here?
Oui, even in a house this size, you must see a lot of each other.
I enjoyed having him here. When I was away with Gideon, it was comforting to know Maman was not alone. Although his work with Mr. Da Silva has kept him away from the house of late.
What can you tell me about their relationship, working or otherwise?
There is not much to tell, only that there is no love lost between them.
Вы знаете, что у них за совместные дела?
He was always quite private about his work. I know that he was helping Mr. Da Silva with some safety matters.
I found a check addressed to the Major from Monsieur Da Silva. It noted security consulting.
Ah, that's right, security. With his military training, he helped Mr. Da Silva prepare for any trouble with the strikes.
Мог майор быть шантажистом?
Heavens no, he could not do that.
You did not hesitate for a moment.
Why would he do such a thing? And then to send a letter to himself. It just doesn't make sense.
Merci for your time, mademoiselle. You are to a detective what an umbrella is to a traveler on a wet day.
Oh.
Useful?
Exactement. I should not be surprised by...
Не стоит удивляться привязанности Анжелины к Феликсу. Он так долго играл в ее жизни значимую роль. Пойдем следы смотреть. Если я узнаю, кого видел прошлой ночью, с одной стороны, я подтвержу, что зрение не подводит меня, как предполагает месье Стерлинг, но с другой возникнут новые вопросы, требующие ответа. Оп.
Oh.
Качественно сделанная зажигалка с эмблемой полка. Должно быть, Феликс ее выровнял. В снегу видна маленькая цепочка следов. Вчера видели, как майор тут ходил.
Ага.
Кормушку почти замело снегом. Сомневаюсь, что в такую погоду много птиц захочет чем-нибудь полакомиться. Выйти невозможно. Выхода нет. Дом полностью заметен снегом. Кажется, в ближайшее время никто никуда не уйдет. Снег все еще идет, а я одет не по погоде. Нужно вернуться в дом и поговорить с месье Арчибальд. Возможно, мадам Ванденбош закончила завтрак и готова ответить на мои вопросы. Ой. А еще же не все. А можно снова? Нет? Жаль. А, да, все собрал. Серьезно? Ну ладно. Арчибальд.
Whatever you need, detective.
Your assistance has been most valuable.
Не понял. Я должен поговорить с мадам Ванденбош, а также воспользоваться этой возможностью и поговорить с мадемуазель Рианой на кухне. здесь есть выход на кухню где-то? Нет? Нет. Ну ладно.
Bonjour, madame. May I offer my condolences for your loss?
Thank you, Detective, but they are not necessary. What can I do for you?
I was hoping you would be prepared to answer some questions.
If I must.
Почему кто-то мог желать смерти майору?
I'm sure you're aware he was not the easiest man to get along with. His hot temper made him a number of foes.
A hot temper is reason enough to kill a man.
His mouth often acted before his brain. Perhaps someone had grown tired of dealing.
Вы предположили, почему его могли убить, но кто, по вашему мнению, мог это сделать?
Seeing as I heard Mr. Becker's in what I would describe as an unnecessarily loud exchange of words yesterday, he would be my first suspect.
You heard them yourself.
How could I not? The volume they were shouting at, I could hear them from the study in my room.
You did not think it fitting to tell me this yesterday?
I didn't think Felix was going to wind up dead and a murderer loose in my house. My apologies, Detective.
Хотя я должен поподробнее узнать об этом споре, я ожидаю услышать ответы не от мадам, но от месье Беккерса. Ему многое предстоит объяснить. В кабинете майора было найдено письмо.
I assume you are talking about the supposed blackmail letter.
Oui, madame. You know of it?
It arrived shortly after the first. Rather coincidental, if you ask me.
I'm not sure I understand what you're trying to say, madame.
He no doubt had secrets hidden away. But do you honestly think Felix had anything of value to his name worth threatening him for?
Perhaps you should enlighten me.
Well, he was here, living in my house, eating my food, prepared by my staff. Does that answer your question, Detective?
Как, по-вашему, майор получил письмо?
I wouldn't put it past him to have written it himself, in the hopes of getting some sympathy from me.
And the other letters?
He probably wrote those too. If Angeline paid the first, that would have given him the money to pay the second letter. He is the White Knight, saves the day, and expects to live here happily ever after.
Не ожидал, что мадам Ванденбош такого недоброго мнения о майоре. У меня сложилось впечатление, что между ними дружба, не менее. Мадам изложила весьма злодейский план, приписывая его майору. Я не уверен, что он мог сподобиться на такую ложь. Уверен, у мадемуазель Анжелины будет свое мнение по этому вопросу. Ну да, тем более, там один из выкупов вроде бы Гидеон заплатил. Я хотел бы спросить вас о месье де Силе.
What is it you wish to know?
You two have been friends for some time now. And while I do not mean to pry, has your relationship only...
If you are trying to insinuate that Mr. De Silva and I are running around like schoolchildren, you could not be further from the truth. He was friends with my husband, for goodness sake.
Oui, I understand they worked together. Investments, if I am correct.
Mr. De Silva was the voice of reason that my husband should have listened to more often, instead of throwing our money at businesses that were already on the verge of bankruptcy.
Merci, madame. I shall not bother you any further. Another success.
У Анджелины и Кассандры разные впечатления о майоре. Тому должна быть причина. Так, Рианна и Анджелина, может, да. Пойдем через Анджелину.
Is there something I can help you with, Detective?
Ваша матушка описывала дружбу с майором не настолько радужно.
You have got the wrong end of the stick, detective. Maman has snapped at him recently, but it was nothing more than that. It was something to do with the letter. I heard them in the library before Maman shouted and he stormed out of the room past me.
Could it have been the blackmail letter that instigated their argument?
Why would Maman be upset with him over the letter?
Madame is of a very different opinion from yourself regarding his connection with the letters. She believes him to be the author.
That is what she told you? She has always been one to make a quick, if not rash decision, but she cannot truly believe that.
Майор знал о том, что вы заплатили после первого письма шантажиста?
I don't recall telling him directly. I did not want Maman to find out it had been paid. If he knew, surely she would.
Madame believes he may have been behind all the letters, and taking your payment of the first, then used it to pay the second and be the hero in you and your mother's eyes.
I never knew Maman had such an imagination. Where would she get a story like that from?
That is a question I was hoping you may be able to answer.
You have met him. Do you really think he's capable of such a devious plan?
It is a plan only the most crooked and underhanded could create. Is that the major? I am not so sure.
Чем больше я думаю о рассказе мадам, тем более смешным и запутанным он мне кажется. Но это не означает, что его следует сбрасывать со счетов.
I shall not keep you any longer. Merci, mademoiselle. I must take a different approach if I am to I must act on thought and fact. Is there something Some would say a lucky guess.
Должно быть, шантаж повлиял на отношения сильнее, чем ожидалось.
Is there something I can help you with, detective?
Это письмо шантажиста вызвало напряжение в отношениях мадам и майора.
I'm afraid it had been that way for some time. Maman is not forthcoming with her emotions, as I'm sure you are aware, but I could tell she had not been happy with their arrangement for the last few months.
What gave you that impression?
There was not one particular thing that she expressed. It was just the way she spoke to him and of him when he wasn't present.
I shall not keep you any longer. Merci, mademoiselle.
А где кухня? Ой, здравствуйте.
Comtesse, I wonder if I could ask you some questions.
That is it, detective? No small talk? No inflating of one's ego?
I am afraid not, Comtesse. With a murderer still loose in the house, my mind is rather preoccupied.
Well then, detective, perhaps I can be of some assistance.
Comment, madame?
I thought you might like to know what I found on the Major's body.
Я хочу знать, кто дал вам разрешение на осмотр тела майора.
That certainly piqued your interest.
A man has been murdered, and you find it acceptable to fool around and joke.
Oh, please, detective. Do you really think so little of me? Archibald asked for my assistance. He knows of my medical training from my days as a nurse, and I thought I would be able to help. Even if it has been some years.
It was not his place to grant you access to the body.
I shall remember to keep my assistance to myself next time.
Что вы обнаружили на теле?
A single stab wound, which you no doubt already knew. The knife was held in their right hand. I would say their predominant hand.
Я горжусь порядком и системой, а здесь ни того, ни другого. Подозреваемая в убийстве рассматривает тело жертвы, которую сама же могла убить, как на странице детективного романа.
Judging by the depth of the wound, I would say there was no great force put into the strike. More a sign of defense than attack. If I had to say what weapon was used, a small sharp knife or dagger.
Майор упал на нож, ясно. Это может подтверждать мои предположения о том, что майора убили его ножом.
I understand it may be difficult for one to keep such information to yourself, but I ask you to try. Your involvement has already tainted my investigation.
You are welcome, detective.
Когда мой начальник узнает, что творится в доме, меня снова сошлют в глушь. Я должен сделать все возможное, чтобы восстановить репутацию, над которой столько трудился, начав с поиска убийцы.
S'il vous plaît, Comtesse. Keep this information to yourself. Bonjour, Monsieur Demire.
Detective Poirot, how are you?
The truth, Monsieur. With each step towards uncovering the blackmailer, I am thrown 2 steps back as to the identity of the Major's killer.
Is there something I can help you with?
Осмотрев вчера место преступления, я попросил месье Стерлинга убрать тело.
Archibald came to me and asked for my help in the matter. My brother and I dealt with it.
Merci for your help. It is a job that only the professionals should have to undertake.
It's a job that had to be done, although it may have affected my brother more than I.
How so?
At the sight of the body, the color drained from his face. Once we had reached the cellar, Zachariah took himself straight off to bed, without even a good night.
В кабинете я заметил, что сейф майора был заперт. Вы не знаете, кто имел доступ к нему?
Felix and Madame Vandenbosch are the only ones with keys, as far as I'm aware. Oh, and Archibald. I'm sure I heard Felix asking him to return something to it once.
Будет умно спросить у месье Стерлинга. Если он скрывал сейф майора, у него должна быть веская причина. Вы говорили с братом этим утром?
I have not seen him since last night. I'm sure he will have been fine after a good night's sleep.
Полагаю, алкоголь подействовал на него как снотворное.
He does not need his younger brother checking in on him.
Perhaps that is exactly what he requires.
I'm not sure what he told you yesterday, Detective, but he's a big boy. He can look after himself.
I worry that may not be the case, Monsieur. His time in the war came up in conversation more than once during our conversations.
He's still talking about it? I thought talking to the doctor would have stopped all of that.
Merci, Monsieur. Magnifique.
Я слышал о людях, телом вернувшихся с войны, но разумом оставшихся на поле боя.
If it will help you find the Major's killer, of course.
Ваш брат посещал доктора?
When he returned from the war, he was a different man. Everything became about what he had seen.
I cannot speak from experience, but I can only imagine the horrors he must have witnessed.
The first weeks he would wake in the night, screaming. I found him one night, cowering behind the desk in the study. When I tried to help him out from beneath it, well, it was the first time I had ever feared for my life.
That is not why you two are no longer close?
And not at all, Detective. We were always very different in nature. While I had always wanted to follow an academic path, Zachariah was more of a free spirit. Or at least as free as our father and the laws would allow.
And yet, he ended up in the military. Quite the contrast.
Our father demanded that he at least try to do something with his life. And when some of his friends joined the army, he signed up with them. It wasn't long before he moved out from the family home after his return from the army. I always assumed that he had put the war and everything that came with it behind him and was moving on. But now I...
Ой. Ну, в общем, Гидеон думал, что Захария оставил войну в прошлом, но теперь понимает, что она все еще с ним. Продолжаем поиски кухни, однако. А где? Что-то я не понимаю. Салон. Где я потеряла дверь? Окно. А, вот вход.
Bonjour, madame. You must be the wonderful cook.
Wonderful and modest, sir. I am Rihanna.
My taste buds thank you for the ravishing meal last night. It has been some time since I ate so well.
Glad to hear it, sir.
S'il te plaît, madame. The detective is fine.
In that case, mademoiselle is fine for me, and I will ignore your presumption of marriage.
Très bon, mademoiselle.
Вы же работаете в семье Ванденбош весьма долгое время.
That's right. I've seen staff come and go, but a house always needs a trustworthy cook.
I agree. But if I was to eat what you prepare every day, I fear I may be the size of La Maison.
Not a bad thing, detective. You could do with some meat on your bones.
Well, with the snow still not clearing, we may be stuck here for the weekend. Perhaps I should look to adjust my pantalon buttons.
Как я понимаю, вчера вы принесли майора лед.
I did. Monsieur Archie told me what had happened. Bruises can swell fast, so I took him some ice to bring it down.
Странно, месье Стерлинг сказал, что это майор попросил льда.
How was the major when you saw him?
Grumpy, as always.
I suppose one would not take kindly to being punched as he was.
Punched or not, he was as ungrateful as ever.
I shall not keep you any longer. Merci, mademoiselle.
Я собрал все сведения у мадам Ванденбош и мадемуазель Риан. Нужно вернуться в большой холл. Полагаю, я собрал всю требующуюся информацию. Месье Стерлинг поможет мне попасть в кабинет майора.
Let's make this quick.
Merci, madame.
Я на всякий случай. По привычке. Потому что на самом деле игра довольно-таки линейная. И если тебя не попросили о чем-то поговорить, ты ни от кого ничего больше не добьешься.
Whatever you need, detective.
Я бы хотел снова осмотреть кабинет майора.
Certainly, detective.
Эта комната все еще является местом преступления и должна оставаться в неприкосновенности. Но здесь все перевернуто вверх дном. Так оно и было перевернуто. Я попросил месье Стерлинга завернуть и унести тело, и это было сделано, к счастью. Но здесь изменилось что-то еще. Очевидно, кто-то искал нечто определенное в документах майора. Эти счета тщательно изучили. Майор недавно взял огромный заем, а проценты просто астрономические.
Oh.
Должен отметить, что между мэр и фильм заметно удивительное сходство, особенно когда они стоят рядом. Должно быть, такая лесть призвана завоевать сердце мадам Ванденбош. Странно, Виконт тоже был на фотографии, но снимок согнули так, чтобы его не было видно. Не думал, что между майором и покойным Виконтом была вражда. О, что сейчас скроем? Странно, вчера я не мог открыть сейф, а сегодня он стоит распахнут. Царапины вокруг замка очевидны. Кто-то в доме жаждал увидеть содержимое сейфа. Полузапечатанное письмо, адресованное мадам Ванденбош от майора. Я не читаю чужие письма, но в сложившихся обстоятельствах... Моя дорожайшая Кассандра, кажется, века прошли с тех пор, как я в последний раз видел тебя. Я с таким нетерпением ждал этого дня. Нашу фотографию у озера я всегда храню подле сердца. Мне не терпится увидеть, как выросла юная Анжелина. Уверен, в скорости по красоте она сравнится с матерью. Надеюсь, вы получили мои подарки с Востока. Это очень ценная вещица. Работа, что удерживала меня вдали от тебя, близится к завершению, и я вернусь на континент в течение месяца. По твоей просьбе я нашел жилье в городе. Мне больно думать о том, что я буду рядом, но все же не смогу видеть тебя каждое мгновение. Но если тебя это успокоит, я больше не буду поднимать этот вопрос. Я договорюсь о визите к вам. Возвращение старого друга не возбудит подозрений. Я понимаю, что Виконта также нет в стране. Надеюсь, одиночество не угнетает тебя, а уже скоро мы воссоединимся. Чего? До того дня и до самой смерти мое сердце принадлежит тебе. Майор Феликс Хаген. Чего? Кажется, мадам Ванденбош утаила очень многое, касающееся ее отношений с майором. Из письма понятно, что их привязанность друг к другу некоторое время длилась дольше, чем дружба. Упоминание о юной Анжелине позволяет предположить, что не менее 20 лет.
Order and method. That is... This will not get me... I cannot see the logic in it. Another success.
Майор уплатил выкуп, указанный в адресованном ему письме. Должно быть, он слишком волновался, что нечто станет известно общественности. Но что же? Майор завалил Виконта? Ну так, в порядке бреда. Хотя не знаю, после предположения о совместном убийстве это уже не кажется бредом.
Come, my little grey cells. I must act on thought and fact. Is there some... Order and method. The pieces of the puzzle are finally coming to...
Спрятанные фотографии вкупе с привязанностью к нему Анжелины доказывают, что они были ему очень дороги.
This will not get me any closer. I must take a different approach if I am... Things are beginning to become clear.
Уверен, майор сделал бы все возможное, чтобы сохранить уютную жизнь, к которой так привык. Но пал ли он так низко, что подделал письмо о шантаже?
I should not be surprised by my own...
Улики говорят о том, что майор не является автором письма шантажиста. Майор был жертвой, как и мадемуазель Анжелина. Кто бы ни писал эти письма, он многое знает о многих. Интересно, сколько еще людей получали подобные послания? Неясная связь между майором и выкупом установлена. Майора шантажировали, письма писаны не его рукой. Остается непонятным, почему майора шантажировали. Два дела о вымогательстве под одной крышей. Возникает вопрос, как они связаны. Тайна майора из письма отнюдь не очевидна. Тайна майора из письма отнюдь не очевидна. Давайте интонировать как нормальные люди. Теперь мне нужно отыскать шантажиста, убийцу и орудие убийства. Если правильно следовать процедуре, я быстро все найду. Мне следует уйти. Эта комната уже помогла пролить достаточно света на жизни мадам и майора.
Detective Poirot, I have been asked to inform you that Lady Vandenbosch has returned to her room, and she wishes not to be disturbed.
Merci. Madame certainly has mastered the art of subtlety.
They may not be the exact words she used, but I'm sure you can imagine. Excuse me, I have some further duties to attend to in the pantry.
Наверное, я должен воспользоваться этой возможностью и осмотреть верхний этаж, пока никто меня не побеспокоит. Меня особенно интересует одна комната. Нужно осмотреть кладовку, пока представилась такая редкая возможность. Where is кладовка? Help, please. Детские игрушки. Как жалко, что их запрятали так далеко, они играют ими. Учитывая то, что их хранили в кладовке, они почти в идеальном состоянии. Могу предположить, что они принадлежат мадемуазель Анжелине. Чтобы создать такое произведение искусства, требуется время и мастерство. Одинокая книга. Судя по состоянию переплета и страниц, ее перечитывали много раз. Возможно, я не отношусь к поклонникам подобных произведений, но она весьма популярна у молодежи. Настоящей хозяйки дома, с днем рождения. Я вижу, какой благовоспитанной юной леди ты растешь, и этого не описать словами. С любовью, Феликс. Не ожидал, что месье Хаген напишет столь проникновенное послание. Да еще и мадемуазель Анжелине. Разве похоже это на обычную дарственную надпись от друга семьи? Анжелина, дочь Хагена. Я ни от кого не могу получить прямого ответа о майоре. Я знаю, что он несколько лет дружил с мадам Ваденбош, но должен выяснить, было ли между ними что-то большее.
Order and method. I must act on thought. Is there something? Come, my little grey cells. Some would say a lucky guess.
Кажется, майор долгие годы с большим комфортом жил в доме Ванденбошей. Поговорить с Анжелиной, окей.
Detective Poirot, are you any closer to uncovering the truth of Felix's involvement with the letters?
I am, mademoiselle. I can confirm that he was not the author of the blackmail letters.
So the author is still out there?
Oui, but it will not be long before they are apprehended, and the only letters they shall be penning will be from behind iron bars.
Your confidence is rather assuring. Thank you, Detective.
Ваши слова о гостях, сказанные прошлым вечером, не выходят у меня из головы.
I'm sorry, Detective. I did not intend to leave your mind so full of thoughts.
No apology is required. It actually made me question my whole chain of thinking. What if there had been a collusion between them, and the Major's murder was planned, organized, and orchestrated to make the investigation seem almost impossible?
Oh my, Detective, that is quite a theory.
Every guest has a motive. You confirmed that with the mention of Mademoiselle Conrad and the Major's fight. Supplying one another with a rock-solid alibi would surely throw off any detective.
But not you.
Correct, mademoiselle. It would take much more to stamp Detective Poirot.
Вчера я говорил с графиней. Она не самого лестного мнения о майоре.
They have often come to blows when it concerns Maman. They are both trying to protect her, but they themselves cannot seem to get along.
She spoke of his desire to join the, how do you describe it? Social elite.
This isn't the first time she has vocalized that concern. She thinks the Major was just using our family name to make his way to the top.
And you do not agree?
I will not deny he has shown interest in Maman's social circles, but they have been friends since even before I was born. Surely all those years of friendship was not just to raise his social standing.
Мадемуазель Анжелина, очевидно, не верит в то, что графиня говорила о майоре. Возможно, в той просто говорит ревность. Могу я задать нескромный вопрос? Майор делал что-нибудь для дома и семьи?
How do you mean, detective?
I imagine a house of this size is rather costly, keeping it in the immaculate condition it is in.
Maman looks after the financial side of the house, but I think she has had to ask him more than once for a contribution of sorts. It is not for me to get involved.
Обыскивая кладовку, я обнаружил книгу, которая могла стать подарком майора вам.
I haven't seen that book in so long. Yes, it was a gift for my 10th birthday. I have read it from cover to cover countless times. He left such a lovely inscription too.
It sounds as though there is a side to the Major I did not get to see. Was it common for him to bring you gifts?
Not common, but if he had been away for some time, he would bring me a small memento from his travels. He hasn't done that in some time, though.
С книгой были игрушки, тоже подарки майора?
They were. I'm afraid they may have gathered some dust being in the storage room for so long. I kept them in hope of giving them to my child when the time comes.
It sounds as though he had always cared about you.
His presence at the house was comforting for us both after father died, even if sometimes he was a little too overprotective.
Прошлым вечером вы говорили, что майор помогал вашей матушке.
That's right. Ever since I can remember, Felix has been around.
It seems as though she has a number of support networks. The Major, her friendship with the Countess, not forgetting Monsieur da Silva.
Maman has many friends. I know how she may seem to most, but once you break the hard shell...
There is a further shell waiting to be broken.
Oh, very good, detective.
Forgive me, mademoiselle. I only jest.
It's quite all right. You are not the only one that feels a razor tongue. She's grateful you are here, especially now, whether she shows it or not.
Хотел бы я познакомиться с мадам такой, какой ее описывает мадемуазель Анжелина. Не уверен, что смогу надеяться на приятельские отношения.
I shall not keep you any longer. Merci, mademoiselle.
У меня есть все, что нужно, чтобы вынудить мадам Ванденбош раскрыть свою тайну. У-у-у. Ща понесется.
Huh. Aha. Ah. Ah.
Detective Poirot, what do you think you are doing in here?
I have something I wish to discuss with you.
Well, I hope it is important enough to justify barging into one's bedroom.
I assure you it is.
Good, because this has gone on far too long. We are snowed in this house while a murderer runs amok.
I can understand your frustrations, but it is not as simple as...
You were once an incompetent officer, and now it seems you are just as incompetent as a detective.
If I was not being lied to and misled at every turn, perhaps the murderer would already be in custody.
I hope you are not suggesting I had something to do with Felix's murder.
I am suggesting that if I had the support that everyone claims they are offering, we would be in a very different situation.
If you have something you want to ask, I suggest you ask me now.
Я не знал, что майор был близок к вашей дочери.
We met before Angeline was born, so he was often at the house when she was growing up.
And where was it you two met?
I was attending an event. Felix was also in attendance as a serving officer. A conversation was struck.
So, it was not through the Viscount that you two met?
I did not require my husband to start conversations on my behalf.
It was you that instigated it then?
My, detective. That active imagination of yours has taken you on quite some journey.
Мадам пытается уклониться от темы, которую ей явно неудобно обсуждать. Значит, покойный Виконт и майор были друзьями.
Edwin spent much of his time away on business before Angeline was born. Felix was a welcome distraction from the loneliness of the house.
You were alone in the house?
The staff continued their duties, of course, but trying to get any sort of sophisticated or cultured conversation from them was like drawing blood from a stone.
And when Angeline was born?
Edwin remained at home. It was his duty as a father.
And the Major?
He had his own business and life to tend to, but we remained in touch via letter. Around the time of Edwin's passing, Felix had relocated to the area.
Мадам очень уклончиво и скупо выдает информацию, но смерть Виконта совпадает с возвращением майора. Несомненно, объяснение, что это простое совпадение, сильно преувеличено. Я хотел бы спросить вас о письме, найденном в кабинете майора.
I'm sure he has hundreds of letters in there. Most of them could and should have been thrown away a long time ago. You are going to have to be more specific.
I refer to the letter addressed to you, the one of a romantic nature.
Romantic nature? Please, detective. Felix did not have a romantic bone in his body.
He made his intentions quite clear in the letter. I must admit, I myself was...
You really do have quite the active imagination, detective. If that is how you wish to interpret it, so be it. But I can assure you, the Major did not think of me that way, and certainly did not include it in a letter.
I think that is all for now. Merci, madame.
Как-то маловато потоков вылилось на нашу голову. Наверное, скоро будет еще.
This will not get me any closer to... I must take a different approach if I am to I cannot see the logic in this. Magnifique.
Со смертью Виконта майор вошел в ее жизнь и стал для нее почти отцом. Для Анжелины, в смысле.
I must act on thought and fact. Order and method. That... This will not get me any... What a revelation!
Очевидно, майор питал интерес к Кассандре, и это никого не удивляет.
Is this really necessary?
Если вы правы, и Феликс не испытывал к вам романтических чувств, то почему он втайне держал фотографию вас и мадемуазель Анжелин?
He may have stayed in my home, but Felix was a grown man, Detective. What he kept, hidden or otherwise, has nothing to do with me.
But it does not surprise you that he had such a photograph?
We have been friends, and he has been there for Angeline for many years, but you find it strange that he keeps a reminder of us? Perhaps that says more about you, Detective.
What I do find strange is that if he did hold a flame for you, why he would never express it.
If he did, it was not reciprocated. I have not even considered another since my husband's passing. Not that it is any of your business.
I think that is all for now. Merci, madame. Is there something magnifique?
Вот как это логически связано? Как бы она это ни отрицала, но Кассандра в некоторой степени разделяла чувства майора. Потому что позволяла ему жить у себя в доме просто так.
Is this really necessary?
Вы приютили майора на много лет, хотя он так мало сделал для дома и семьи. Вы же не думаете, что я поверю, будто это ради одной лишь платонической дружбы?
Who I allow in my house is none of your business. I do not have to explain anything to you.
I did not think you were one for charity.
I would not expect you to think much of anything. There is no need to talk on it any further, but I'm sure you will remember that, financially speaking, we have had our issues.
У меня есть все доказательства, необходимые для серьезного разговора с мадам Вандербош. Я должен тщательно подбирать вопросы. Несомненно, если я нажму, она начнет защищаться. Но это единственная стратегия, ведь иначе она не выдаст интересующую меня информацию. И вы все же позволили майору жить здесь, даже за ваш счет.
Need I repeat myself, Detective? There is no need to talk any more on the subject. Men and women can remain friends without any romantic involvement. I'm sure you are aware of that. Your insistent questioning on such trivial matters are getting on my last nerve. There is a murderer and a blackmailer to be found. That is your job here.
Значит, его признание в любви для вас ничто?
Your continued probing into something that does not
Сейчас нас
exist
тащат, мне кажется.
is becoming quite tiresome. There is nothing I can tell you that will magically present what you are looking for, detective. I have grown weary of this conversation, Poirot. There is nothing more to say.
Ваше постоянное нежелание отвечать на мои вопросы и оборонительная позиция предполагают, что между вами была взаимная любовь. На в лоб.
Madame, you continue to withhold the truth.
And you continue to get on my last nerve. I am not obliged to tell you every detail of my private life.
But when it impedes my investigation...
Believe what you wish. You clearly have no idea what you're talking about. My personal life has nothing to do with your investigation. I don't know how else it can be said. Keep your nose out of my business.
Ой. Короче, надо жмать, да? Прям жмать сильно. Ладно, будем жмать.
Who I allow in my house is none of your...
I did not think you...
I would not...
Так, почему вы так решительно защищаете имя мсье Хазина?
He was a man that required no protection, detective. Especially from me.
That is the impression I had of him, which is why your defensive stance warrants questioning.
Your insistent questioning on such trivial matters are getting on my last nerve. There is a murderer and a blackmailer to be found. That is your job here.
Значит, его признание в любви для вас ничто?
Your continued probing into something that... There is nothing I have...
Ваше постоянное нежелание отвечать на мои вопросы и оборонительная позиция предполагают, что между вами была взаимная любовь.
Madame, you...
And you continue...
But when it...
If only you were this focused on finding the blackmailer and...
Madame.
Very well. I did not lie about how we met. I was attending an event, raising money for... Oh, I cannot recall now. It had been some time since I had returned home, and was rather missing English soil. I was aware of Felix's invitation, or at least that there was to be several British officers attending the party, and that is where our friendship began. He was a warm reminder of home, and I enjoyed conversing with him. We shared walks in the park and read together. As I said, he was a welcome distraction from the days spent alone. I shall go no further with the details, but I will say, I had no intention on being unfaithful to my husband. It was never our plan to go that far. Once I found out I was pregnant, I knew it had to stop.
Я же говорила.
The Viscount never questioned Mademoiselle's birth?
In his mind, he had no reason to, and he shouldn't have had to. It was my mistake to bear. If he knew the truth, our lives would have been ruined. I told Felix that he was to stay away, but he had no intention to. He became an uncle figure to Angeline, and they grew closer after Edwin's death. I could not tell her the truth. Too much time had passed. The secret remained only between him and I.
And what were the Major's thoughts on revealing the truth?
He wanted to tell her everything. He wanted her to know exactly who he was. But I told him no. It would not have been the poignant reconciliation that he expected. She would not understand.
Могу я предположить, что эта тайна была использована шантажистом?
It must be. But I have told no one.
And the Major?
Felix promised me he wouldn't tell a soul, and I believed him, even if he wanted to.
Если за все эти годы майор хоть раз проговорился, возможно, в состоянии опьянения, тогда кто-то мог ждать удобного случая, чтобы получить выгоду от этого секрета.
You did not think anyone knew, and that is why you disregarded the letter.
If you bow to these criminals, they will only try to claw more from you.
Расскажите мне о письмах.
I tried to retrieve them from the safe after everyone had retired last night. But when I opened the safe, they were nowhere to be found. I assumed he must have hidden them somewhere else.
When I entered the study this morning, they were as visible as a red notice on a police station wall.
I would appreciate if you did not compare them to the face of a wanted felon.
Pardon, madame.
But that does mean someone else in the house has seen them. I don't understand. Why would they return them?
A mystery that is still yet to be solved.
Кто-то опередил мадам у сейфа. Кажется, в список преступников в этом доме следует добавить еще и вора. Вора, вернувшего украденное. 4-е дело.
I think that is all for now. Merci, madame.
Неясная связь между майором и выкупом установлена. Майора шантажировали. Письма писаны не его рукой. Остается непонятным, почему майора шантажировали. 2 дела о вымогательстве под одной крышей. Возникает вопрос, как они связаны. Тайна майора из письма отнюдь не очевидна. Теперь мне нужно отыскать шантажиста, убийцу и орудие убийства. Если правильно следовать процедуре, я все найду. Я подозревал, что у мадам Ванденбош и майора были романтические отношения, но я не ожидал, что их плодом станет мадемуазель Анжелина. Теперь я один из немногих, кто хранит секрет мадам. Да, отстойте.
Detective Poirot, how is your investigation coming?
Monsieur Starling, I must admit, I have learned much more than I was expecting to.
You'll be wrapping the case up soon, then?
One has never finished learning, monsieur, and in this case, I shall need to continue if I am to find the Major's killer.
It might help to vocalize your thinking. I'm all ears.
Риш разбежался. Месье Стерлинг предложил интересную задумку. Если я расскажу, насколько продвинулся в расследовании, не раскрывая всей правды, виновные могут понять, что я у них на хвосте, и раскроют себя.
Monsieur, would you gather the guests and staff in the salon?
Right away, Detective. Can I ask for what reason?
I shall reveal all once everyone is together.
Глава 6. Расследование.
Detective, what is the meaning of all this?
Madame, I ask that you all lend me your ears for only a few moments. What I have to say is of great significance to everyone. You are all invited here to celebrate the engagement of Mademoiselle Angeline Vandenbosch and Monsieur Gédéon Demire, the coming together of 2 prevalent families. But the celebrations were short-lived, as Major Felix Hagen was found dead in his study by a young servant of the house. It then became my responsibility and obligation as a detective to uncover the truth behind his demise. My initial examination of his study exposed a number of things I did not expect to find. Things I have no desire to divulge at this time, but what I can say is this. It was no simple murder. A letter demanding ransom for a continued silence confirmed this. I am sure some, if not all of you, have heard whispers of a series of blackmails that have plagued the social elite in recent weeks. After hearing of the letters in the Major study, you may ask if it was him behind the letters. You may further ask if he was preparing his next threat to another unsuspecting victim. It is a question that crossed even my mind. That was until I sought the truth. That in fact it was the Major that had fallen victim to our blackmailer Mystérieux. Last night I spoke with you all, confirmed your whereabouts in the house over the course of the evening, and while I would have expected such questioning to reveal a potential suspect, what I learned was that it could not have been one of you.
What do you mean, not one of us? The man was stabbed. He hardly did that to himself. There is still a killer in the house.
Pardon, monsieur, if you would allow me to finish. It could not have been only one of you. Rather a partneria, a partnership, in cahoots, if you will. Conversations today have revealed facts that I was not expecting to discover. And although they may have muddied and complicated my investigation, what I must do to bring the guilty parties to justice has become clearer. Those of you that spun stories in an attempt to confuse and derail my investigation have made a grave mistake in underestimating my intelligence. Other detectives may fall for such deception, but I can assure you, Detective Poirot is no such fool. My investigation is far from over, and swift justice shall be dealt to those that have committed such appalling acts and have continued to mislead and lie to protect themselves. Now, I must continue mon enquête, and I shall leave you to consider that you may be beside a cold-hearted killer. Bonsoir. Monsieur Sterling, un moment.
Quite the speech, Detective.
Merci, but it was not made to entertain, more to warn the guilty parties that I am hot on their heels, no matter how clever they believe themselves to be.
Well, if there is anything I can do.
Когда вы вернулись в кабинет прошлым вечером, вы не заметили, что с вашего предыдущего посещения что-то изменилось?
Nothing. But I was so preoccupied with the Major. Sorry, Detective. Should I have?
Perhaps it was just my mind playing games again.
Maybe one of the guests got lost and wandered in.
Если бы кто-то из гостей свернул не туда, оказавшись сначала в спальне майора, я уверен, он не стал бы проходить через вторую дверь, если только он не заблудился окончательно. У кого был доступ к сейфу в кабинете майора?
Master Hagen had a key, obviously, and Lady Vandenbosch.
Месье Демир был твердо уверен в том, что еще один экземпляр ключа был у Арчибальда. Такое нельзя забыть. Касательно доступа к сейфу, вы видели его содержимое прежде?
When requested, aye. If something is required from there when Master Hagen is not around.
Forgive me. If he is not around, how is it you access this safe?
It's not what you think, Detective.
What I think is that you have been trusted with a copy of the key, and you have lied to me about it.
I only lied because of the trouble I can get into with Lady Vandenbosch.
At this moment, monsieur, you should be more worried about the trouble you shall find yourself in with the law.
I know how it will sound, but I lost my key. I must have set it down somewhere, and it has been tidied away. And Master Hagen asked so rarely for me to go in the safe, I didn't think it would be missed.
Рассказ месье Стерлинга кажется мне весьма интересным совпадением. Сейф майора открыт, документы перевернуты вверх дном, а письма, касающиеся секрета мадам Ванденбош, оставлены. Это преступление без очевидной цели. Нам нужно обсудить вопрос, касающийся графини.
I should have said this morning. I'm sorry.
Monsieur, I am not quite sure you understand the severity of what has happened.
I am well aware, Detective. I just thought she would be able to help.
Would you allow a man with a smoking gun to remove his bullet from a victim's chest?
I suppose not.
Я понимаю, месье Стерлинг просто пытался помочь, но, несомненно, он должен был понимать, как это отразится на расследовании. Я бы хотела обыскать комнаты гостей.
Is that really necessary?
The murderer remains at large, and there is still no sign of the weapon. I would say that makes them essential.
Of course. I still just cannot imagine any of them being guilty of his murder.
It may be hard to imagine, but it is the truth. I would like to begin my searches now. Since it is closest, I will start with the west wing.
I may not be back when you return. Here is the key to the other rooms. Please return it when you're done.
Merci. I shall guard it with my life.
В первую очередь нанесем визит графине. Так, но обыскивать комнаты мы пойдем уже в следующий раз. Через пару недель, я думаю. Где-то так, примерно. Если меня снова не утянет реал на неопределенное количество дней. Надеюсь, что дальше все пойдет поровнее, и через пару недель мы продолжим переворачивать этот особняк вверх дном.